Welcome to the 7 Years' War, a what would have been small conflict between Austria and Prussia was driven into a world war by the rivalry between Britain and the Bourbons. First, we must talk about the War of Austrian Succession. Frederick II seizes Silesia from Austria. Maria Theresa takes time to rebuild her army and strengthen her nation through progressive movements and alliances. Austria abandons its alliance with Great Britain. Russia, France, and Austria form an unlikely alliance. Prussia forms an alliance with Great Britain, the only major power left. This is called the Diplomatic Revolution.
Alright, let's take a step back and let's look at the alliances of the 7 Years' War. Alright, so first, essentially, let's start it off with Britain. Wait, no. Alright, hold on. Let's start it off with France, alright? France and the other countries in Europe, they decided tensions were rising, alright? And they needed to make a pact with other people, an alliance. So they called up the bros, Russia and Austria, and they teamed up. That's what I'm all about, the team, right? And then Britain was scrambling to find a partner, although struggling with past struggles. Frederick and Britain merged as an alliance. Britain and Prussia. Alright, so essentially what we're looking at, the alliance powers of Britain and Prussia, and France, Russia, and Austria against each other in an epic battle of the European.
Next, we must talk about the colonial conflicts. In North America, conflicts between France and Britain were growing. France was setting up forts to restrict the expansion of the Pennsylvania and Virginia colonies westward. This, in U.S. history, is called the French and Indian War.
So, essentially, when you're looking at Britain and France, Britain initially colonized on the East Coast, while France took more of the Louisiana territory. But they collided at a point, the Ohio River Valley. This was a key location due to the Monongahela and Allegheny rivers crossing to form the Ohio River. This fork in the river is ideal geographic location for settlement abroad. First, Britain took a sweep on the territory and established a minor footing into the soil, into the territory. But France, quick on the pounce, took it right out of their hands. The France established Fort Duquesne, a lasting settlement that not even the glorious George Washington of the colonial army could take. This everlasting settlement of Fort Duquesne, still alive in modern America. Essentially, when you're looking at French colonialization, France established the Ohio River Basin, the Louisiana Territory, and all the way up to the provinces by Quebec. While this territory was not ideal geographically, it had many rivers that could easily be used for transport and support of troops and other resources needed throughout the colonization period. Britain was stuck on the East Coast. While this is more the prime geographically located area, they could not push past Fort Duquesne. This could also offset the momentum of the war between France and Britain, kind of establishing France as the colonial power in terms of they held them at the basin, why can't they hold them in the European theater? Britain stayed, as I said, on the East Coast and established the colonies, while France established provinces and larger territories of land in the Ohio River Basin and all the way to the provinces of modern Canada and Quebec.
We're going to now split this segment of the documentary into two parts. The Battle of Kunersdorf and the Battle of Lithuania. Now, the Battle of Lithuania is Frederick, my favorite king. Special moment. Now, he was outnumbered 10-1. Even though he lost Berlin, he still managed to defeat Austrians' larger army. France and Britain were always going head to head. But luckily for the British, they had the brilliant leadership of William Pitt the Elder. He led British to victories on land and sea. But unfortunately for France, they always found themselves out of resources. France and Britain used their East Indian Resource Company to collect resources and gather more resources for their wars. But luckily for the British people, they always came superior and on top.
The second major battle in the European theater was the Battle of Kunersdorf, fought between the Austrians and the Prussians. The main goal of the battle was for Prussia to surprise the Austrians and defeat them, even though Austria had the much larger force. This ended in a major failure for Prussia and turned them back. However, Prussia recovered in time, so they didn't lose any ground when it came down to the treaty.
After Britain's victory over France and Spain, the war has come to an end by the creation of the Treaty of Paris. You can essentially say that Britain has won this war. They've conquered colonies around and in Canada. The war that has lasted 20 years has now come to an end.
Oh, hello, America. You just caught me in my reading time. This is one of my favorite books about anti-liberal Nixon and Kissinger. On behalf of my colleagues and myself, Dr. Skoish Velociraptor Maloish, thank you for watching our program.